We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna tonight, and we are on page 210 of Nikhilananda's version here on the date Sunday, April 15th, 1883. So we'll jump in here on this Halloween Eve.
Swamiji, which page?
Yes.
Sorry. Which page?
210.
Thank you.
All right.
The date might be better, Swami.
Sunday, April 15th, 1883.
Thank you.
Surely. Surendra, a beloved lay disciple of the Master, had invited him to his house on the auspicious occasion of the Annapurna Puja. It was about 6 o'clock when Sri Ramakrishna arrived there with some of his devotees. The image of the Divine Mother had been installed in the worship hall. At her feet lay hibiscus flowers and bilwa leaves. From her neck hung a garland of flowers. Sri Ramakrishna entered the hall and bowed down before the image. Then he went to the open courtyard where he sat on a carpet surrounded by his devotees and disciples. A few bolsters lay on the carpet, which was covered with a white linen sheet. He was asked to lean against one of these, but he pushed it aside. To the devotees. I've got wig hair. To the devotees, the Master says, to lean against a bolster. You see, it is very difficult to give up vanity. So bolsters indicated wealth, and so the image that he's seeing, and why he would say, that it's difficult to give up vanity, is because that kind of reclined repose, leaning on a big cushion, was kind of a rich man's, babu pose, as it were. And so Ramakrishna didn't want any part of that. He pushes it aside and says, you see, it's very difficult to give up vanity. It's not really that difficult, because I see at least 10 people tonight who have given up their vanity utterly for our well-being. And so Thakur, really, you see how he just never forgets his discernment and his attention. Here he is at a big celebratory puja, and everybody's, worshiping the Mother, the Divine Mother. There's music, and they've laid out white linen sheets on the floor for him to sit down on and give him these cushions, these bolsters. And there's just never a compromise. He's never not paying attention to the condition of his mind and to the thoughts of his mind, and to see see things as they are. Just always very careful about being true to his nature. You see, it's very difficult to give up vanity. You may discriminate, saying that the ego is nothing at all, but still it comes. Nobody knows from where. A goat's legs are frightened in a dream. You shake off sleep and are wide awake, but still you feel your heart palpitating. Egotism is exactly like that. You may drive it away, but still it appears from somewhere. Then you look sullen and say, what? I have not been shown the proper respect. Right? That's always the sign of the ego, concerned about what one's image, or how one's being treated, or whether one's being properly respected or honored. Did they give you credit for what you've done? Have people been properly courteous toward you? All these thoughts about the self, about the small s self, is egoism. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable and separate from other people is egoism. Anything that makes you feel alone and isolated is egoism. Anything that blocks the divine, that blocks your view of love, your expression of love, that blocks your ability to be wise or to share wisdom, anything that takes you out of the moment, takes you into a reverie or into intoxication of any kind, is egoism. Egoism is what does all of those things. It's when your infinite self, your infinitely beautiful, infinitely pure, infinitely free self identifies with something way too small and becomes convinced that it's powerless, that it's tiny, that it's separate, that it's alone, that it can't, or it should, or it hasn't, or it must. Any of these things are all driven by the ego. And the ego, like Thakur says, we don't know where it comes from. And the reason we don't know where it comes from is because it actually isn't real. So it's not actually there. It's a thought. It's kind of a tangle of thoughts, a confusion with wrong seeing and wrong thinking. And so you may try and drive it away, but it appears from somewhere. Then you look sullen and say, "What? I have not been shown the proper respect." Kedar, one should be lowlier than a straw and patient as a tree. There's you a goal. Master, as for me, I consider myself as a speck of the dust of the devotee's feet. Yes, he's consistent with that vision. Consistent with that vision that he's the dust of the devotee's feet. And just no expectation of honor, no expectation of recognition, no need for a thank you, no need for any of those things. He won't hold a slight against anyone. Of course, if you're his disciple, he'll let you know that you haven't shown the proper respect, because that's your egoism, and he's there to help you cure that, help you to transcend that. Vaidyanatha arrived. He was a well-educated man, a lawyer of the High Court of Calcutta. With folded hands, he saluted the master and took his seat at one side. Surrender to the master. He is one of my relatives. Master. Yes, I see he has a nice nature. Surrender. He has come here because he wants to ask you a question or two. Master to Vaidyanatha. All that you see is the manifestation of God's power. No one can do anything without this power. That's interesting. The thought just flies through my mind there, so I'll catch it and share it. But this notion when he says, all that you see is the manifestation of God's power. And what is that power exactly? Because what are you seeing exactly? You see, you're seeing thoughts, that's all. You're seeing thought waves in your own mind, right? Your eyes are not connected with light, with optic tubes taking light directly to your head. They just simply take an encoding of light to your head, and your brain has to decode that into a symbol, right? And so the power of God is actually the power of the mind, the power to all of your thoughts emanate from God, emanate from the divine source. And so even though we think we're looking out here to an external world and saying, oh, look at God's power, isn't it wonderful? We see the mountains and whatnot. But the power of God is you. The power of God is coming from within you and being reflected off of the walls of mind, as it were. And that's what you're observing. But that power is all local to you. That demonstration and manifestation is all local to you. God and you are intimate and deeply. It's even silly to say you're connected, because you're one and the same in the truth. But it's egoism that blocks us from knowing this, because egoism is what suggests separateness, because ego wants to be in charge. And to be in charge, we have to get rid of that pesky divine, that infinite being. We have to find a place for him or her or that. All that you see is the manifestation of God's power. No one can do anything without this power. But you must remember that there is not an equal manifestation of God's power in all things. Vidyasagar once asked me whether God endowed some with greater power than others. I said to him, if there's no greater or lesser manifestations of his power, then why have we taken the trouble to come visit you? Have you grown two horns? So it stands to reason that God exists in all beings as the all-pervasive power, but the manifestations of his power are different in different beings, right? Vaidyanatha. Sir, I have a doubt. People speak of free will. They say that a man can do either good or evil according to his will. Is it true? Are we really free to do whatever we like? Master, everything depends on the will of God. The world is his play. He has created all these different things, great and small, strong and weak, good and bad, virtuous and vicious. This is all his Maya, his sport. You must have observed that all the trees in a garden are not of the same kind. As long as a man has not realized God, he thinks he is free. It is God himself who keeps this error in man. Otherwise, sin would have multiplied. Man would not have been afraid of sin, and there would have been no punishment for it. You see, what is that punishment for it? Your egoism is the punishment of wrong thinking and wrongdoing. Your ego is the punishment. Your ego is what makes you feel responsible. And so it's your ego that teaches you that you're weak. It's your ego that holds you accountable to your karma. It's your ego that won't let you feel forgiven. It's your ego that makes you doubt the love of the divine, that makes you forget or doubt grace. And so this notion, this is how the divine has kind of tempered us in this game, so that we don't just run around doing worse than what we're doing, because we feel responsible. We identify with our deeds. And so we get ourselves defined by our deeds because of that attachment. And so we don't want to be a bad person, or we don't want to, we don't want to be too crazy bad. We'll be this bad. We'll be mischievous bad, right? And so God has put in you a sense of responsibility through your sense of ego, through your sense of separateness, that kind of tempers your behavior while you're away from the divine. Oh my goodness. It's a real party on this end. I don't know how your room is, but but do you know the attitude of one who has realized God? He feels, I am the machine, and you, O Lord, are the operator. I am the house, and you are the indweller. Isn't this beautiful? So you are the house, and God is the indweller. That which is within you. I mean, that is the divine. That which is moving my mouth and moving my hands and enjoying your company, and vice versa. This is God herself, enjoying Halloween evening and laughing and enjoying our joy together. And that there is no one else here but the divine, the beloved. And we're all looking at all of her different aspects, all of her expressions, all of her plays, all the different presentations of stories of love, right? Because all of our lives are a story of love. We do things because we love them. All of our desires are chosen because they're a desire. There's something we love, something we wanted, something we were attracted to. And so each one of us is one line of love in the novel about love. And when you take all of our lines together, you get the whole story. You finally see God. And so this is what happens at enlightenment. You see and hear all the stories at once. And you know that it is the beloved expressing love everywhere in all of its possibilities. Even the worst things we see in this world are an expression of love, just seen from the other side. A person will love his religion, and so he'll put down another religion. That person that belongs to the religion that's been put down is going to have to do a little bit of detachment in order to see that action by that other religion's person as love, because it's not love for that religion, it's a love for his religion, you see. And so even the violence and even the ill that we recognize in this world, that we see in this world, is actually caused by love. But it's a love that's been shown through an ego, expressed through an individual that's separate and separates itself from God and thinks itself free of God. And so it continues on. I am the house, and you are the indweller. I am the chariot and you are the driver. I move as you move me. I speak as you make me speak. You see this, and this is a beautiful thing to begin to see, because this is a truth. This is a truth. And that's why we're doing this practice of turning ourselves inward, studying our inner world, the workings of the mind, the workings of the ego, the workings of the body and the senses, and how they all are in constant cohorts. All, yeah, that's a word. But you can actually see that it is God moving, if you can reach that subtle space within where you can let go of the story that makes you the mover, that makes you the doer. As soon as you set that story down and stop putting that lens on the moment, you will see that these things happen. The easiest way for us in our condition is by that study that was done, where they showed that your mind actually makes a decision long before you, the ego self, is conscious of what decision has been made. So where is free will if the mind has already made a decision before you are aware of it, before you know what it is, before you're conscious of it? You see, so there is, I just saw an article yesterday floating around the internet again. I didn't read it, but that was its title, that there is no free will. So it's observable. It's not an idea.
So I have a question. So
Yeah.
then the way we see, like we said, the evil, quote unquote, is as a play. Then if there is no free will, then the way to explain it would be that it's a play, or it's apparent relative truth, depending on which philosophy or which understanding you speak it from.
Yeah, the way that I play with it is not so much a play. I see it as a play for certain in that sense. But when you say it's a play, you bring in a whole lot of other metaphors that kind of you'd have to deal with. I like it that what we are is a manifestation. Like right now, my body, if you touch my shoulder, you feel my body at 98.6 degrees. You experience that because that's a manifestation of a living body. It puts off heat at 98.6 degrees, right? God, when God is present, this is what he puts off. This is what manifests. And so all of us are a story of love. And so when you see things that look like evil, because there's not actually such a thing as evil. Evil is love seen from the other side, seen from the wrong side. Love is experiencing hate is experiencing someone's love for something other than you.
yeah. It's just you get one gets asked that question like so much that sometimes it's just hard to explain. But I do understand.
Yeah, the trouble is it's not hard to explain. It's hard to accept for somebody who doesn't know these things. Right. To say there's no such thing as evil, they'll be like, well, what about Israel and Palestine right now? Yeah. And it's like, well, yes, from the level of consciousness that we have put ourselves at this point, yes, we see good and evil. Yes, we experience the world as good and evil. But ultimately, Israel is expressing their love for their tradition, their religion, their country, their whatever. Palestine is trying to express their love for their freedom, for their independence, for their own identity, and having to, face against the Israeli love for not having them around. So all of that is still love.
But it's still the result is still hatred or hurt, or right. So
that's how an ego experiences it. Yes,
right.
Ego.
So then it would, yeah. So it would have to be. I guess what I'm saying is internally one can one can understand it, but externally when it happens, then it's a little bit harder to accept. No?
Yes, it's true, but there's not a special set of tools needed. It's still attachment that causes suffering. So if you're seeing evil, it's because of attachment. And so what we do is go inside and say, what am I attached to or identified with that makes this seem painful, that makes this seem, evil? And so when we remove our attachments and we become generalized, then we're able to see both sides of the coin simultaneously. We can see that this is actually a manifestation of love that's been filtered through an ego and given a particular spin, a positive or a negative spin by the ego that manifested its love that way.
This is
Right.
very difficult. What am I attached to? Well, not being murdered. Okay. Good
Right.
luck with that. Letting go of that,
Yeah, but that's the teaching, because even you can hear that story about that sage that was sitting on a rock meditating, and the king and some soldiers walked by, and the king wanted, I don't remember what he wanted to ask, but he went over and asked the sadhu, and the sadhu didn't come out of meditation, didn't answer him. And so the king gets furious at him and comes over and says, do you not know who I am? Do you not know that I could take this sword and thrust it through you without breaking my smile? And the sadhu opens his eyes from meditation and smiles at the king and says, do you know who you are? Because I could sit here and have you drive that sword through this body and not break my smile. So yes, it is intense. It's an extreme perspective, because you're not a body. You cannot be murdered. It's like being murdered in a dream. Fine. You'll experience it. Yes, there's hurt. Yes, there's the pain. But when you wake up, you'll realize, it was just a dream. It wasn't real. And this is the nature of this world. Now, we can't live like we see things that way if we don't see things that way. That's why we do our practice, right? Because what happens then is you get out of balance, because then you become callous about the suffering of others, because you sit there and look at it and say, that's not real. But when it's your own pain, it's real. Then you have to do something about it, right? You'll do something to fix yourself. But in truth, there's one without a second. Nobody's being hurt. Nobody's being murdered. Nobody's being offended. It's all just a play of love in all of its machinations, defining itself in all of its possibilities, and dancing in a constant stream of unrepeating change. This is all that's going on, and only because of attachment to a body, to an identity, to a job, to a car, to money, to a nationality, to a religion, to a gender, to a sex. All of these things are attachments, and they cause us suffering, each one of them in their own way. And so the way that we get there is not to necessarily go around saying, look, the world is unreal, the world is unreal, the world is unreal. Not really going to be helpful, not really going to do it, unless we're doing that in a way to detach, in a way that helps us to perceive things impersonally.
Yeah, I guess, sorry, I think I'm having a slight confusion, where if one's insight is that which we all, which is what our practice is for, then there should be no prisons, and there should be no punishment in the society, right? Because that is, that is our view, and that's our practice. So I guess how does one project this to society at large, other than for oneself, right? For oneself, yes, you love the whoever the victim and the person who's who's the victimizer, and one deals with it. But as a society, it's hard to understand as to how to deal with it.
Yeah, no, well, you can't. Society isn't you
So
the
that's
best.
why I said it's like a play. Then it's like a dream. You have to
Right.
view it. You have to view it as a dream, and then just do this practice for oneself.
For oneself, right? Which means that you are not harmed by the evil of others. You
Right.
are not afraid of the evil of others. The body, you're always willing to be brave because you know that you have nothing to lose, right? You know that you have nothing to lose, and so you are fearless.
Right.
That is one of the things of enlightenment. As far as the rest of it out there, you also come to know that it's not as it seems. So what is there to change? What is necessary to change? Yes, you could create a society with no prisons, but unless you enlighten all those prisoners, that might cause some more trouble, because having those prisons is part of Mother's plan to make you feel responsible for your deeds. Right. And so it's her safety valve that she has put into the game. So the only answer is your own enlightenment. You're not going to be able to enlighten society. You're not going to be able to change anyone or anything outside of yourself. So change yourself and be amazed, because the world you live in will change, because it is your universe and it is unique to you. So you be the change and your world will change. I saw this happen, and I've told this story before. I had a direct experience of this. Not that it's hard to do. You can do it as well, because all that I did when I first moved to Los Angeles, I would go for my walk every day, and I thought Los Angeles was so standoffish and people were so unfriendly. Nobody would talk. Nobody would say hi on the streets. It seemed rather like a calloused place to me. And I was thinking about that. And, I was reading a scripture, I guess, that morning about seeing God in everybody. And I thought, well, okay, I'm going to make that practice. I'm just going to start addressing God consciously each time I talk to a person. Instead of talking to that person as a person, I'm going to look at the back of their eyes where God is, and I'm going to talk directly to God through that person. And so when I would go to the cashier at the grocery store, I would be very cheerful and very sweet to them, because I was having a moment with Thakur, talking to Mother, as I chatted with that person. And when I'd look down the street, walk down the street, as strangers passed me, I would greet them in my own mind. Hello, Ma. Hello, Thakur. Hello, Divine. And same with dogs. It's like that Hafiz poem where he bends down and scratches a dog under the chin, the stray dog, and whispers in the dog's ear, "My beloved, I am so blessed that you have come to see me today." And so to go around making that practice. So I started doing that, and nothing really changed except for my own experience of being a little bit freer on the road while I was taking a walk. But 2 weeks after I'd been doing it for 2 weeks, I was standing at the stoplight, and this guy was standing there next to me. And he just turned and started talking to me. And I started noticing that was beginning to happen more and more, that people were just engaging with me. And I realized that by seeing the divine in everyone, that I had somehow sloughed off a defensiveness or a protective layer that I had on that I wasn't aware of, that was causing people to be aloof to me, because I was somehow putting off an energy of, oh, you're not friendly. You're not, the LA is aloof. LA is not friendly. LA is calloused. And so by living according to that thinking, LA became calloused for me, because I was putting off a vibe that was saying not friendly. And when I started the practice of seeing the divine consciously as I walked, not that I was seeing anything different than I ever was seeing, but trying to be consciously aware of what Thakur is saying here, that he is the indweller of all of these people, all of these bodies, everything that I'm seeing. And so I started really trying to see it that way. And I tell you, my experience of Los Angeles changed. My world changed. The world that I lived in, the whole world. Not because I went out and changed everybody, but because I changed me. And this is my world. I live in my universe. And it became different. And it began manifesting differently, more purely. And so that's why an enlightened soul can have these divine experiences of light, like Peace Pilgrim. She said she saw everything turn to gold, and she saw these specks of divine light falling down like snow from the sky and blessing everything with life while she was walking in the woods one day. Because this is the reality of it. So Thakur here is just trying to get us to kind of start moving our mind in that direction. This is the state of enlightenment. So it's not like it's expected that you'll see everything this way. But these are the things that we tie into our dhoti, that we put in our pocket, so that we can pull it out when life gets tough. When our attachments are really being overwhelming, we can pull this truth out and spend some time in meditation and prayer and find a great deal of freedom from it, a great deal of relief from it. And ultimately in our enlightenment, we'll know it to be true. We'll see it natively that way. We won't have to project it anymore. We'll see it naturally.
Mommy?
Yes.
But I had a question. It was like, but when you see God and everything like that, like the way you're saying, is I think kind of related to Vinny's question. It's kind of like, how do you not get attached in that sense? Because it's kind of like now you go back to caring for everything because you see God or you see Swami or you see Thakur or you see Ma and everything. And it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, especially with children, it's kind of hard because, either in my job or like you see in the Islamic stuff, when they're pulling out dead children out of things. And if you do see, Thakur or Ma in it, it's kind of like, it's hard to not be like, that sucks, or not be like sad, like, in a certain way. I'm not bawling crying anymore, at least, in that sense, because, I don't want to have the mentality, like you said, like, okay, this is not real. Clearly, up until you experience that reality mind, like they actually experience enlightenment in that sense, this is still real. I feel like you're still having those, not technically karmas, because of your good deeds, bad deeds, or whatever. It's the only way of making sense of certain things. Your karmas kind of put you where you are. It's the only way it kind of makes sense, because they're not enlightened in that sense. It's kind of like, okay, until the good deeds, bad deeds, you still have to serve it out. So I'm not really bawling. This had to happen. God knows what he's doing. He still has to, everything's working out the way he puts it or she puts it, like Mom wants it to. But it's still hard when you see everything in God and like Ma and everything, and you see children dying or children getting trafficking, all these things. It's the way they're being tortured, the way the death is happening, to explain all these things. It's like, you can't turn an eye to it. You, like you said, you don't become callous to it. That's where that fight is. It's like, you still care, you don't care, you halfway care, you're just like, you can't get that uncaring out because you love Ma and Thakur, or you kind of, they were so loving. Mom was so loving. And it's kind of like, what do
but see, it's not, you're not just seeing it in the little children. You're seeing it in the people that are picking up the fallen children. You're seeing it in the people that are killing the children. You see it everywhere. And knowing their divine nature, this is from the enlightenment perspective. This is a hard sell because of the way the world that we actually experience from our level of consciousness, none of this works. From the perspective that we have as ego selves, there is no way that we're going to get everything to resolve into God so that we can understand this picture as it is. It's not as easy as just a practice of going around seeing God in everybody. That's the beginning of it. But also it's a matter of choices also. And this is going to be kind of a weird thing too, because I'm not going to go there actually.
I mean, that's what I mean by free will. It's kind of like we have free will up until we get that enlightenment stage of.
No, you have the illusion of free will. It's like when you read a book, at the point that your finger is at in the book, you believe that the characters in that book have free will because you don't know what choices they're going to make and what they're going to do. So as you are experiencing the book, you're experiencing the free will of all of the people making choices in that book. But that book's already written. That book's going to end the same every time you read it. So in truth, there is no free will within that book. But as you read that book for the first time, you will experience the free will of all of the characters in it as they make their way through that story. And it's exactly the same for us. You know?
So even the bad people, I don't want to say bad people, but you know what I mean. So just example, the guy who steals the kid with the candy, and then even that person's story is made by God, I guess, is already written.
Is God himself.
Yeah, is God, I guess. Yeah, so it just looks bad, but it's not really bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, even in my mind, I could, like I said, I don't hate the person because to me, it's like, even if you had a mental health problem, it's like, who gave him that mental health problem? You know, to do that, it would have to be God. And then all of these things play that role of, you know, where they have to be exactly in the same spot would have to be by God, you know? So that's how I put it, to not hate the person, like
not by God. There's no by God.
Oh,
is God. When you're dreaming, your dream at night, you're not manipulating the whole dream. You are the dream. There's nothing in that dream, whether you're looking at a stump or a rat or another person or a divine light. All of that is made of you. Your own mind stuff is presenting all of this stuff to you. So it's not you doing anything to your mind. You are the mind. It's you. Everything is you. There is nothing else there but you. And so these children, that's the ultimate perspective. And again, Thakur's not teaching us this. He's giving us something to put in our pocket to grow into. It's, you know, I do not have the right now to say, oh, you know, the killing of the children, oh, that's God playing with God and nothing's happening. Because if it was my child, I would be screaming and running around with a knife looking for who did this to me, who did this to me.
of course.
Because I'm still ego self as well. So I'm very uncomfortable in this with
No, I
these
know what you're saying.
teachings.
I mean, but that's what you have to
Because of that.
experience it. Until you do your job and do all that, and you have to experience it and actually experience it, you're not there yet to get to that point. That's why.
Well, yes, that's true, but that's not a helpful perspective.
No.
Your job in your moment, right? Because we bring the world down to this moment, and in this moment, there's no dead children.
Okay. See what you're saying.
Pretty sure, no dead kids in my room here, right? So that's not really a part of my story right now. And it's not really part of the world that I can affect right now and that I can change. In my world right now, I manifest love. And I try to do it without attachment so that I can manifest it equanimously all around me to everyone in an equal way with no judgment. Come to me, you're going to get a kind response. Come to me, you're going to get empathy. Come to me, you're going to get service. Come to me, you're going to find a home for yourself. That's your responsibility. All of the rest of it, don't bring a story into it and say, here, God, justify this story, because the story is yours, right? The story is written by your ego, and it's what you see as true and what you believe to be right and wrong in this particular moment. But the story is yours, and it can't be fixed because it doesn't exist. It's a random story that you picked up little bits and pieces that you thought you knew and cobbled it together into a narrative, right? And one of the vlogs I did this week was that work by that professor at the UC Santa Barbara, who demonstrates that there's a section of the mind, he names it even, that simply explains your behavior constantly, has an ongoing narrative, but that section of the mind has no access to motive information. So it doesn't actually know why you're doing what you're doing. It's just simply keeping the narrative going, keeping everything look like it's in line, like it's natural and normal, right? There's nothing to be done about that story. That story has no value aside from it's the one that Mother is using to bring you to your enlightenment, to bring you to wisdom. But you, in reality, just bring it down to this moment. What's in front of me? What do I have to do? And do it perfectly. Do it beautifully as worship, whatever that might be. That's your responsibility. If Mother puts you in Palestine tomorrow morning, then do it there. You know, the first child you see in front of you, you know, protect them. If they've already passed, look for the parents to comfort them, to strengthen them, you know, clean the body, show your love and your honor to the child as the divine through that. Wherever you are, be there. Don't be here with your mind in Palestine. What good is that going to do for you? You're just going to suffer. They're going to suffer. You're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're going to feel powerless about it. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to get some anger. And all this noise is going to fill your mind because you're not here now. You're in a thought because you don't know what's going on in Palestine. You only know what somebody has told you is going on there. And you only know for the reasons that they said these things are going on there. So it's a complete fabrication of a story that you hold within your mind. Again, because of attachments. Oh, I like children. You know, I like living children. You know, and so because of that, you make judgments and you make perceptions and you have angles of belief and whatever on that. That all has to go first before this actually begins to make sense, because there is only here and now. And your here and now is what Mother has given to you to work with, right? And so in your here and now, do what is in front of you with your full mind as an offering, as a manifestation of love and inspiration that exists within you as your nature to the best of your ability. And then you will not make a mistake. What's going on outside of that sphere isn't for you right now. It isn't a part of your world. It is not a part of your experience in it. Now, if you hear it on TV, you get a choice, you know. If you take it in on the television, which may have some value, you know, if you want to write a letter to a congressman, or if you want to, you know, I don't know, write a letter to Biden and say, you know, get us out of this situation. I don't like it this way, whatever. But better is to bring your attention to where you are in the world that you live in the world that Mother has given you power to reach. You know, you can reach around and change the nature of this room. You can reach around and help your neighbors and love your neighbors and care about their yard and worry about their health and feed their children. And, you know, you can do all of those things as your service to the beloved. That's what spiritual life is. If you feel desperately inspired inside to do something about the Israeli-Palestine war right now, then perhaps Mother is moving you to go get on a plane and fly over there and do whatever she has in mind for you to do over there. But if that's not what you're going to do, then be here and be here now and open your heart and live your love and your wisdom and enjoy being the constant presence of God, right? So don't make up the story and then try and fix the injustice of it, because you built the injustice into the story yourself when you wrote it. What you do is you come to the moment where there is no past, there is no future, there is no result to an action. There is only isness, mindfulness in this moment. And God is fully present everywhere. See that and respond. See that and follow the inspiration. That's the way through this. Don't take the whole thing and try and explain it, because you don't know what the whole thing is. And any story that you make about the whole thing is false, is going to have huge holes in it with information missing that is necessary to understand. And so better just know, I don't know what's going on there. There's nothing I can do to help there. This is where I am, and this is what I can do to help, and this is what I will do. You know, and so bring it down to this moment. All right.
Swamiji, actually, Swamiji, in most situations, we really don't know the whole story. Mostly.
In all
Sorry.
You can take that all the way, Gita. In all situations ever, you never know the whole story.
So that then how do we handle? Just say that whatever I can do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Understand you're ignorant, right? Understand that you don't have all the pieces, and then stick to the stuff you do know. I'm ever free. I'm the nature of love. I am the nature of wisdom. I am existence itself. I will never die. You bring those things into your awareness and act accordingly. You know, live accordingly. Right? Does that work?
That was very good. Thank you, Swami.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So Master says, everything depends on the will of God. The world is his play. He has created all these different things, great and small, strong and weak, good and bad, virtuous and vicious. You know, so no, all of this is happening according to the will of the divine. And what is the will of the divine? Well, there's not a will. It's because we live in stories that we think in terms of will. The divine doesn't have a will as such, because the divine is the moment, and this moment is eternal. There is no past and future. That's our misunderstanding of the story. You know, so God has made all of this, and from our perspective, some of it seems good and some of it seems bad. Some of it seems loving and some of it seems vicious. But that's because we're ignorant, because we're not seeing the picture as a whole, right?
I mean, the Bhagavad Gita, that war, it's a perfect example of everything you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. That the Kurukshetra, the field of action, is your body. You know, and the war between the factions in the Gita is what's going on in your mind. What you're fighting against is all of your attachments, all of Arjuna's, you know, teachers and family and friends that are on the wrong side or on the other side. He has to fight all of his attachments. And when he says, "Oh, I'm not going to fight," what does Krishna say to him? He says, "They're already dead. They're already dead. You can't help yourself. You will follow your karma." You know, and so this is that understanding, and find courage in that. You know, find strength in that, and do what is your dharma. What is the right thing for you to do in this moment? What are you inspired to? Do it with brilliance and with love, with detachment, and all will be well in that.
Swami,
Yes.
I don't. This is going to take you off on a tangent. If it's not okay, you can tell me. But I don't understand this at all. What does that mean? They're already dead. If you say that there's no birth and no death in a certain perspective, and then you say they're already dead, how do you put all that together? I don't understand it at all.
Well, where if there's no birth and there's no death, all right, then who would be already dead? Everybody, right? Because you were never born, so you're in the same place that you would be if you had died. Right? You haven't manifested. You haven't come out of the unmanifest in that sense. So in that sense, everybody's already dead. Time has already happened. It's in its isness. This isn't real. It's a dream, you know. So we're already asleep. That's one way to put it.
Really too difficult. My mind is like just going off. I've been grappling with this for quite a while, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, it's a difficult teaching. the thing I find most helpless is analyze a dream. Think deeply about your experience of a dream. You know, in your dream, what are you dealing with? Who are the people in your dream? They've got lives, they've got stories, they've got existence within the dream. You know, all of that's there. But is it? What is it? Anything that you do in your dream is going to give you nothing when you wake up in the morning. Build a house, build a castle, get married, have 12 children, get a job, be a king. But when you wake up in the morning, you're still going to be in your rental. You know, it's not real. Even though you experienced it and saw it and witnessed it and were afraid of it and happy by it and experienced it completely, there was nothing there.
So it's a play. Basically, what you're saying, it's a play.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a play, as Thakur says. It's his Maya. You know, but even that is an adult telling a child and putting it into children's words. You know, these are very, very high realities that we're not going to understand until we've detached, until we've let go of our identity and our own story. Only then will we be able to accept this truth. This is a big one, and it's a very difficult one. So that's why I say our job at this moment is not to resolve the whole thing to where we know this to be, oh, it's fine that everybody's dying, no big deal. That's not what we're trying to get to. We're just trying to find a way of being present in the moment and to manifest our nature purely and freely in the space and time that we see ourselves to be. You know, that's really the teaching of this. It's like God's going on, everything is divine. So don't get caught up in all of it. Don't let the mind start, what about Russia? What about Armenia? Oh, well, what about Burma? Oh, what's going on in Thailand? Oh, what about Israel? If you live like that, you're good for nothing. You know, you're scattered, you're distracted, you're not present, you're unaware of your nature, you don't know who you are, you don't know what's going on. You're good for nothing. So just know that everything is divine as it is. And then use that to let go of your worry and concern and the stories that you've made up about all of it. Say to yourself, the stories aren't real because this is just isness. This is just manifesting divinity. And then become acutely aware of the manifestations that are in front of you and become acutely aware of your nature so that you can respond from that nature. And if all of us did that this moment, the Palestinian situation would resolve itself immediately. The Israelis would resolve their situation immediately. You know, if we all sat down right now and just did that, became aware of our nature, looked at the thing that was in front of us, and responded from our nature, responded from unconditional love and wisdom, then all of this stuff would take care of itself, right? But it's not, because we don't.
So basically,
And
what
so,
we get control, we shouldn't worry about. That's what you're saying.
yes.
The already
And
dead
not,
would the already dead part would be it's like it's not acknowledged as God itself. So therefore, I mean, if there's no life to it, if it's not self-aware, then it's already dead. It's just
yeah, well, it's what Arjuna is telling, or what Krishna is telling Arjuna there is this is your story about what's happening here. God, if you posit a God and you put him in that chariot, who has been there for billions of years, the life of a human being is less than an inhalation for God. You know, he's like, there's no story here. The past and the present and the story that you've made up by taking the tiny amount that you know to cobble together a narrative, it's nothing. It's meaningless outside of you. You know, it's like these people are already dead. Everybody dies. People are dying at this moment. Right now, somebody just dropped dead somewhere and someone's weeping for them. You know, this is going on all the time. And we are just God going back to God. So it's like the story of what is happening is just false. We don't know what's happening. We don't understand. We project based on just these tiny little amounts of information that we have, that we can see. Like I said, what do you know of the world? Everybody says, oh, the world's in such a terrible state right now. What do you know of the world? You know, how many people have I talked to today? I've talked to like 3 people today and 5 kids that I gave candy to. That's what I know of the world. You know, what's going on in Israel? I have no idea what's going on in Israel. I can only turn on a television or get on a computer and read and have everybody else tell me what's going on in Israel or in Palestine or wherever. But what do I know? I don't know any of that. I just now have a bunch of more opinions from different people of what's going on in Israel. The story, yes.
In the Gita also it says, as you said, it says very clearly, Krishna says that this world is going on like it is put on a wheel, and that wheel is keep on going. It has been going on for beyond time, what we can say. But everything that is happening in there is keep on happening, and people only think they are the ones who is making it. So this is just like a Ferris wheel or whatever you call it, the merry-go-round. We only think we are moving, but it is something else that is keep on moving. But we think we are the doers of all of this, which is causing all this misery. That is what I have understood from reading that. You know, this is all has happened. Somebody else is pulling the thread, but we think we are the doers of this and causing all this misery for ourselves. Does that make any sense? Is that what it is?
That's absolutely true. Yes. And it goes even farther than that. You know, it's like there's nothing happening. There is no cause and effect. There is no story. There is no past. There is no future. There's only now. The rest of it is story. The rest of it is just story. Us taking up a few little pieces and cobbling together a narrative and saying, oh, this is what it is. But it's not that. Right? It's not that. There's only one here, and that is the divine. And the divine is here and now. In the moment, which is the only reality, there is no change. It is the absolute unchanging, the noun of love, the noun of wisdom. It's only when it gets projected through consciousness and reflected in mind and owned by an ego that it becomes a story, that it becomes a cause and effect, that it becomes something trapped in time. You know, all of those are delusions. There is no time. There is nothing but the moment, and it is eternal. The now is eternity. There is no passing of anything. It's outside of time, which is why it doesn't make sense. If you sit and try and think about the now, it doesn't make any sense, because you have a choice to make. You know, George Carlin, is that his name? He's doing a big thing, I guess he did a big comedy, something or other anyway, talking like he talks, and he starts off by saying that there is only past and there's only future. There is no now, because those are the choices you get. When you start looking at the experience of time, you get 2 choices. Either there is past and future and none such thing as the present, because if you got past and future, there can't be a present in there. When does the future exist? When does the future become now before it becomes past? You see, it goes directly from being future to being past. There is no now. That's if you fall for the delusion of mind being real. That's the only conclusion that you have. So there's only past and future and no now. The other choice you can make is that there's only now and there's no past and no future. Those are your two choices. Nothing else can make sense. And so the truth of it, according to the sages, is that there is only this eternal now. It has never ended and it never begins. And this now is God, is the divine. And whatever our experience of this is, in truth, we are simply experiencing God. The narrative, what's that? Sorry,
No,
go ahead.
that is why probably in the gospel, every time somebody asks, why is this happening? Why did this all start in the first place? And Thakur always says, that is her Leela, that is where it ends.
Right.
This is all unexplainable. It is beyond our understanding. We have to reach a certain level even to understand the depth of these things, how it is happening, from where we are so much attached to, or in the delusion that we are all this, what is happening. It is very hard to understand from this point.
Mm-hmm. It's impossible.
What he means by that.
Yes, in truth, it's impossible to understand. It's after 8, yeah. So if anybody has to go, feel free. We'll end here in a moment. But let's get to a good stopping point. But really, the ultimate in it is that all of this is God. And it's not up to you to fix it. That's not why you're here, because there's actually nothing wrong. What you're here to do is to manifest your nature. That's all. That's the meaning of life. To manifest your divine nature, your infinite love, your infinite wisdom, your infinite light. Manifest that. And just, that's all you're responsible for. It will take care of everything else. If you are doing that, and Mother wants that war taken care of, she'll take you and put you in the middle of that, because she knows you are manifesting her nature purely. Right? That's all you have to do. We don't have to fix anything. We don't have to understand anything. We don't have to know anything except our nature. That's it. And our nature is pure love and pure wisdom. And our only responsibility is to stop our ego from denying our nature to the world around us. Right? Don't let your ego block your infinite love. Don't let your ego meter out something that you have an infinity of, as if it's a rare object. Don't let your ego turn your wisdom into stupidity or selfishness. Don't let your ego, try and control somebody else to live the way you think they should or the way that you think they should. Get rid of the ego and allow your nature, the beauty of what you are, to manifest freely without your ignorance blocking it. That's what we're trying to do. That is actually what is natural to us when the ego is not lying and telling us a story all the time. Telling us a constant story.
Manifest means like readily
just be.
Yeah, just being, and perceived also.
What's that?
It's also being perceived, that when you manifest, it has to be perceived by the senses that way.
Yeah, manifestation is anything that can be detected by this. Yeah, it's change. Anything that can be picked up by the senses.
So demonstrate.
I'm manifesting right now with all my might. You just be in this moment as you are, not as you think you are, not with the stories in your mind, but as you are. Pure love, pure wisdom.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
People need, maybe they don't. I've often felt that I need a purpose to get up in the morning. I think there's some truth in that. So if my job is just to manifest myself,
Uh-huh.
How does that fit with motivation or direction? Or I mean, Swami,
Those things belong to mind, you know, and if the mind is pure, then the motivations will be correct. If you're not attached, overly attached and identified with wrong things, then you'll act perfectly in the moment.
so you'll know what your purpose is.
Yes. Yes, your purpose as such, your purpose is to manifest your divinity. That's our universal purpose. Because there can't be a purpose without causation, time, and space. Those things only exist in mind. You know, if there's one without a second, and the moment is never changing, never passing, and the ultimate is unchanging, there's no room for purpose. Purpose is a made-up thing, born of ignorance. Not knowing who you are, you come up with a purpose. Knowing who you are your own purpose.
Okay, so like you had this in your heart to start this Vedanta Center of the Internet. Like, I'm calling that a purpose.
Yeah, I didn't see it as a purpose. It was something I was inspired to do.
So maybe it's like I'm getting into some semantics here. So it's hard to live without any inspiration.
No, well, life itself is your inspiration. Your being itself is an inspiration. The light of love that shines brilliantly within you is your highest inspiration, the most inspiring thing the universe could possibly give to you. But the inspiration doesn't come from outside. The purpose doesn't come from conditions and circumstances. Your purpose comes from the very fact of what you are. You are your own purpose. You don't have to be in a story to have a purpose. Your purpose is to be you, the true you, the you that's not defined and limited by ego.
So you could be lying in a bed in a nursing home, total care, and it's still the same to be you.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that what you're saying? You could, be the president or the most disabled person in the country.
Yes. Yes. For that person who's lying in a room, in a bed, in an old folks home, their purpose is the same as it was when they were going to the office every day. It's to be present in the conditions that you're in right now and manifest your nature. So don't be cranky to the nurse. Don't get mad at the visiting children of your roommate who are making noise and keeping you awake. Your purpose is still to love. Your purpose is still to be wise. And you can do that.
Very true, Maharaj.
Yes.
I'm living it.
Yes, you are. Yes. Yes, you are. Jaima.
I think you should enjoy your rest of the evening. It's quite.
I'm not worried about my evening. I'm worried about the size of the recorded file that I'm going to have to upload.
Thank you, Swami.
All right. Yeah, we'll pick this up again. There'll be plenty of this in the gospel. So Mother will definitely make sure we hash this out till we're happy.
Thank you.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jaima, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you. Thank you.
God, I feel so much love for you guys right now.
Thank you,
Be
Swami.
well.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Jaima.